It's no secret, I just saw the shirt on Redbubble and was like, yeah, gotta have it. Hi guys, it is Megan here, aka Emily, and today's video is kind of gonna be a rant slash a hashtag bring this back type of video. But if you've been around on my channel or any of my social medias for a while, you know I love Optimus Prime. And back in 2015, I made a video titled Why We Love Optimus Prime. I deleted it since then. I wish I hadn't. I wish it was still on my channel because it was a good video. This is kind of like an updated version 5 years later, slash kind of a rant, slash yelling at Hasbro, like a call to action. Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a huge Optimus Prime Peter Cullen fan, and this video is a part of the hashtag that's been going on Instagram called Bring Back Peter Cullen, because that needs to happen like ASAP. So in this video we're going to talk about why Peter Cullen needs to be brought back, why he's been getting screwed over by Hasbro and Paramount lately, what he means to fans, to me, and just what the future holds and how he feels on this whole status. There are two videos that I'm gonna have linked in the description. One of them is from a GalaxyCon. It was a panel from back in March that Peter Cullen and Frank Welker were a part of, and there were questions asked about how they feel about the voice acting in the Netflix Transformers show. Obviously, the Netflix Transformers show was not out at the time of this panel. It was about the voice actors that they had picked. They gave some opinions on it. The other video I'm going to link down below is a video from the channel comodin Cam or comodin Cam. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your username. I'm going to link his video down below just because he did a whole video on this too. So I'm just going to link both of those videos down below so you can go check them out.
Hey guys, editing Emily, just popping in here really quickly to let you know that this hashtag Bring Back Peter Cullen is not a hashtag in where we're telling you or saying you should boycott Siege or Cyberverse. That's not the intention of the hashtag. The intention of the hashtag is, like, it's self-explanatory. Bring back Peter Cullen to these projects that he deserves to be a part of because he loves Optimus and he's getting screwed over. We're not telling people to boycott Siege or Cyberverse or any other Transformers continuity from here on out that happens to not have Peter in it. We're not telling you to do so. We're not telling you to boycott it. So please don't get it into your head that that's what the hashtag means. The hashtag is self-explanatory. All we want is Peter Cullen to be brought back for this iconic role that he is able to do, that he loves to do, and that he deserves to continue to do. So just wanted to pop in here really quickly and just to explain that to you guys. And if it comes across in this video that I'm trying to tell you to boycott it, if it comes across in this video, I apologize. That was never my intention. My intention was just to get the message across that we need to bring back Peter Cullen and that he deserves the recognition that he deserves. So that's all I wanted to point out.
So since day one, I've been saying, ever since we kind of got a lack of Peter Cullen in Cyberverse, it was just kind of sad. Like, I was like, where is Peter Cullen? And then when they made the announcement that they were going to cancel the Optimus Prime movie, it was kind of frustrating because I'm like, Peter has been the voice of Optimus since the days of G1. Obviously, he wasn't the voice of Optimus in animated or the Unicron trilogy, but that's okay because that's not the issue we're talking about here. The main issue we're talking about is I'm impersonating someone that you don't necessarily need to impersonate. The first little thing I want to talk about is during the Bumblebee movie. So for those that don't know, this was talked about in the GalaxyCon panel from back in March. Basically, during the Bumblebee movie, they had brought in John Bailey for production for doing the voice of Optimus for 3 to 4 months. If you don't know who John Bailey is, he's done the voice of Optimus a couple times for fun on like YouTube and stuff, and he was, I believe, in like the Machinima's Combiner Wars Windblade little TV show they did. He was the voice of Optimus, and then until they got Peter Cullen, brought him in to do the voice of Optimus for Bumblebee for 3 to 4 months. He did also the voice for Shockwave and Soundwave in the Bumblebee movie, and he did a pretty good job for those two. Mind you, the Bumblebee movie was being made by Travis Scott, who in many interviews said that he was a fan of Transformers and loved them back in the day and wanted to bring the G1 respect and element and love and care back into these films. Then they called up Peter Cullen, and instead of having him come for 3 to 4 months, which is usually normal, I think, they had him come in for 1 day. Now, if I've learned anything about voice acting from like watching voice actors or reading about voice acting, is that you don't want to strain your voice and do too much acting on one day, because that could hurt your voice, it could ruin your vocal cords, etc. You want to rest your voice. They had him come in and do the lines for Optimus in one day, which is a red flag there. It gets worse. They want to have Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus, who gave him that iconic voice. They want to have him impersonate John Bailey, who is impersonating him. The amount of disrespect that they did just there is astonishing, and it's frustrating as hell. John Bailey's not a professional voice actor. He hasn't been doing this for years and years. This clip, Peter Cullen mentioned how he wasn't giving Optimus like that sincerity, and he wasn't extending lines. Every voice actor has a different way they read their lines. They extend words, they extend vowels, and Peter Cullen has a slight accent to him because he's Canadian. So some of the words when he's talking as Optimus, they sound a little different than John Bailey, because John Bailey's from a different part of the US, so he's probably a different little accent to him. So he wasn't making Optimus sincere enough, according to Peter. He wasn't extending or not extending some vowels. He didn't really sound any that well. Now I know. 2 years later, I now know that it didn't, because Peter was asked to impersonate someone who was impersonating him. The amount of disrespect right there is enough to show you how they don't care. And the thing is, they probably did it to save money or to be cheap, because a lot of these companies like the cheaper option. It's really frustrating that they would do that to Peter Cullen, who's been the voice of Optimus for years. The disrespect doesn't end there for him, and it's really sad. And I've been a fan of Transformers since June 2011. I've been a fan of Peter Cullen since June 2011. And to see him get less and less respect and attention and the praise that he deserves over the years, it's just really sad. He was also asked about the Transformers Netflix show. Now, this was back in March, before the show was actually going to be aired, but they had the voice actors already. Someone in the audience asked, how do you feel about another person, or another voice actor impersonating you? When he was asked that, Frank Welker started to answer the question a little bit, and you could see that Peter literally hung his head and sighed. And that's when I knew, oh boy, this is not good. So Frank starts to answer the question a little bit, and he kind of brings up this little thing, like back in the business, back when they were growing up in the business, or a part of the business from the earlier days, it was stated that it was an unwritten law in the business back when they were starting out and beginning, that you just don't do it. You just don't take someone else's role or voice if they can do it. So back in the day, for them in the business, it was an unspoken law between them and a lot of other voice actors that you just don't do that. You don't impersonate someone else when they are capable of doing it themselves. And Peter and Frank are very capable of doing the voice of Optimus and Megatron themselves. As Peter Cullen said, it was grand theft. You don't take someone else's works impersonating someone when they can do it themselves. Why impersonate Optimus and Megatron when Peter and Frank are healthy enough to continue to do it themselves? Why pay money for an impersonator when you can have the real deal and people won't get pissed? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's what bothers me about this whole thing, is that you can tell in Cyberverse and in Rescue Bots Academy and in the Netflix show that those voice actors are trying too hard to be Peter Cullen. They are impersonating him. That is something you would see on, say, SNL, where they're impersonating a actor or a real person for comedy reasons, for fun. They're not doing it in something that is beloved for years. It's like they went with, for the Netflix show, as Peter stated, they went with non-union workers. In the voice acting world and in other worlds, they have unions. Unions are there to protect the voice actors. They're there to let the voice actors get the right amount of pay that they deserve for the project that they did. It's infuriating. So basically, they could pay the voice actors whatever they wanted, not what they deserved, but what they wanted, whatever they wanted to give the voice actors. So that's kind of frustrating in and of itself. Not only are they screwing over other voice actors, they're screwing over people in the union. They're basically trying to destroy the union, which is there to protect voice actors, to give them the deserved amount of pay they deserve. And they do it for the fans. Frank even mentioned that they love doing this, but also they do it because they know the fans love it. I think Frank Welker doesn't get as much, like, disrespect for like Peter Cullen, because there's been more voice actors that have done Megatron over the years than Optimus, but even still, you can tell Frank is just as upset as Peter Cullen is. Like, you could see over the years the declining of Peter Cullen being Optimus. If you look at the timeline of things, Peter Cullen did the voice of Optimus Prime in the 80s. He also got Ironhide. Then he wasn't the voice actor for Optimus in animated and in Unicron shows, but the thing about that is voice actor for Optimus for Transformers Animated and Transformers Unicron, they weren't impersonating Peter Cullen. They were doing their own voice of Optimus and their own version, and that's why I don't mind those versions of Optimus, because they're not impersonating Peter Cullen. They're trying their own thing, not disrespecting Peter Cullen, and I like those versions of Optimus because they're doing their own thing. And then Peter Cullen was called back in 2007 to do the Transformers live action movies. So he was in the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and then the Bumblebee movie, which ended up being a big sham anyway. Not the movie, but the way they treated Peter Cullen. And if you really look at it, the last time we got a big decent chunk of Optimus was probably in the Transformers 4 movie Age of Extinction. Now, if you remember, that came out in 2014. Here we are in 2020, 6 years later. We did get him in RAD, but he wasn't in there very often. We did get him in The Last Night, but he wasn't in there as often as he was in like Age of Extinction. We did get him in Rescue Bots, but he wasn't in there as often. The last time we got a good chunk of Optimus, or as Peter Cullen, was in 2014. If that's not sad, I don't know what is. And the fact that not only are they casting non-union workers, but they're casting people who are doing impersonations of Optimus. That is shit you find on a comedy show or on YouTube. Not stuff you find on a big screen TV show or on a movie that people were looking forward to Peter Cullen. I trusted Netflix to take good voice actors. Netflix has they have Henry Cavill, they have Marvel actors, Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo on doing shows for them. And you can't tell me they're not gonna pay money to have Peter Cullen and Frank. That is bullshit. I'm not condemning all of like the Transformers Netflix voice actors, because some of them were okay, some of them were good. And even when the show came out, the Netflix show, Peter Cullen came out and said the acting was not great and they were disappointed and upset. I understand that there's that whole argument of we need to give other actors a chance to shine. I understand that. But when it's something as iconic as Transformers and as Optimus Prime and Megatron, don't just cast newbies. Cast people who know what the hell they're doing, who care. I shouldn't be surprised because Paramount and Hasbro have had their issues in the past, but this is a new one and I'm just like sick of it. I'm just frustrated all around. I understand that there's other younger actors that deserve recognition and deserve a chance to shine, but Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are still alive. They are not getting any younger. Give them the chances that they want and deserve, and then when they're gone, cast someone else. How hard is it to cast Peter Cullen? He said he loves doing Optimus. He loves it. So the fact that you're like, let's screw him over. Seriously? What kind of bullshit is that? When you have a person like Peter Cullen who is so kind, who has helped so many people, including myself, through hard times, be screwed over. The way he does Optimus, the voice he picked for Optimus, the tone he picked for Optimus, was modeled after his older brother Larry, who served in Vietnam, who he loved dearly. So the fact that he kind of based Optimus's personality, the way he talks, the way he pronunciates things after his older brother, and then the fact that he's getting screwed over is even more upsetting. When he was going to audition for the role of Prime, his brother told him this: Peter, don't be a Hollywood superhero. Be a real superhero. Real superheroes don't yell, don't act tough. They are tough enough to be gentle, so control yourself. And that quote, that wonderful quote that I hear many times whenever Peter Cullen talks about the origins of Optimus, that quote, when I hear it, has come true. Peter Cullen has become a real-life superhero for so many. With his words, whether it be in the show or the movies, or the way he talks, or the way he carries himself, has helped so many people overcome hard journeys, hard times in their life. He's been there in the back of their head saying, don't give up, You got this. I think he knows that. I don't know if you know, but I was bullied a lot in middle school and in high school. And whenever I was feeling down, I would hear Peter Cullen in the back of my head as Optimus telling me, you are worth it. You are worth everything. People love you. Don't give up. Don't let this define you. He would be the light at the end of the tunnel for me. He would tell me to get back up, to stand up strong, live your life. Don't let these people tell you what you can and cannot do. He was there for me when I had hard times. He's still been there for me in the back of my head. Why do you think Transformers Prime has so many awards? Why do you think G1 is always praised? Because it's great, but the voice acting also helps, because if you look at a character, cartoon character, without the voice acting or the personality, the character has no life. I'm pretty sure if Optimus had a very different and bad voice, we wouldn't love Optimus as much as we are. I think Peter Cullen is a big reason why most of us love Optimus, because he brings so much joy, love, characterizedness, personality, and compassion to the character that we can't help but love him for it. And it's just upsetting to see the way he's being treated, and when you think people are going to give him respect, they don't. The whole moral of this video and the hashtag to bring back Peter Cullen is to get him back into the role of Optimus. To stop these companies from hiring impersonators when impersonators are more for like SNL or for fun, not to deem them replacements for voice actors that are still capable of doing Optimus. It'd be like halfway through the MCU being like, oh, we're gonna replace a Tony Stark impersonator into the Marvel movies. I'm sure there'd be a huge uproar of fans. And it's like Peter Cullen has said numerous times that he wants an Optimus Prime standalone movie. He wants an Optimus Prime movie. He said at the Bumblebee panel in the Optimus Prime voice, what does a character, a voice actor, have to do to get his own movie? Like, he shouldn't have to do anything. He should literally get his own movie because he's a beloved character. Like, I know Bumblebee is a beloved character, but when I think of Transformers, I don't think of Bumblebee. I think of Optimus and Megatron. He's even said recently that before he goes, he wants to do an Optimus Prime movie. Like, just give him one. Even if it's just like an animated movie. Like, literally, Paramount decided to cancel the Optimus Prime movie, which I'm sure would have brought in a hell of a lot of money, and a animated Transformers prequel on Cybertron. Biggest agreement that I hear from people who have seen the Bumblebee movie is we can all agree on we love the Cybertron scene. Fans want a Transformers thing on Cybertron. So an Optimus Prime movie and a Cybertron animated prequel would have been amazing, and I'm pretty sure they would have done pretty damn well. But no, let's cancel both of those, make a Bumblebee sequel, and then like start to do a whole like revamp of the entire Transformers cinematic universe with Beast Wars. Sure, because everyone raves about Beast Wars. No, I know plenty of people who don't like Beast Wars, including myself, because the animation is weird, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to watch the Transformers turn into animals. It's not my thing. You had two films that would have probably been pretty damn successful, and you're like, nah, let's cancel those. Where is the logic in your brain? I love Optimus Prime, and I love Peter Cullen. And he needs to come back. He's beloved by so many. Why do you think Michael Bay brought him back? When Optimus Prime's death happened in the Transformers movie in the 80s, people were in uproar. They were upset. That's why they had the Transformers G1 episode, The Awakening, come out, because people were like, no, I want Optimus back. Look at what the fans of Sonic did. The whole fan base was in uproar about that design, and then they were in uproar, and people came back and was like, well, fix it, and they fixed the design of Sonic, and the movie did really well. So you can't tell me that fans' voices don't matter, because they do. We need to bring back Peter Cullen. He's an amazing voice actor, and I don't think he doesn't deserve. I don't think he doesn't. He does not deserve the disrespect that he is getting. Now there's that argument out there, well, we've had enough of Optimus. It's not about enough of Optimus, it's about whenever we do get Optimus, it should be Peter Cullen for the time being. Those other voice actors out there, and they want to put their own spin on it, but if you're going to put your own spin on it, don't impersonate Peter Cullen's version of Optimus. Do your own voice. You can do a low voice, but don't make it be like you're literally trying to impersonate Peter Cullen in the worst way possible. We're not toxic like some of the people in the Voltron fandom are. We're not going to send death threats to voice actors because that's just rude. But we're also not going to tolerate disrespect to to voice actors. Yeah, that's all I really have to say in this video is that hashtag bring back Peter Cullen. Stop giving him disrespect. Treat him the way he needs to be treated or deserves to be treated. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Autobots, transform and roll out. We love you, Peter. Bye, guys.